Fantastic. No problem at all. Are you all seeing the screen that I'm seeing, the community call?
Recording in progress.
I assume so.
Yep.
Yep, fantastic, fantastic. Sorry, I'm using a new system tonight, so bear with me and hopefully the videos work out. I did click the button. Okay, so it's been a long time since our last community call. There's a lot has happened. So much so that I won't be doing this presentation on my own. There's other people who will be brought in at various points to discuss what they've been doing because there's just too much to cover in a couple of bullet points. There will be times for questions at the end, or you can ask them in the chat wherever you're watching this or in the Discord. And yeah, we'll try and answer as many of these questions as possible. Okay, so we have a little bit of a development update. So, our general overview of our homepage and proposals page, everything is complete here. So from our homepage, you can get to every single nook and cranny of the website. All the links work, everything like that. It's perfect. You can even go to EVO-Labs.IO right now. Please don't crash the server. And it has just a maintenance page up right now. But you will see, Tony Gibboni, a wonderful graphic the first time you load in. So we're just under maintenance at the moment, and I'll go into that later on why we're under maintenance. So the active proposal section is there. These are all dummy proposals we've been using to test the flow and bug hunt and things like that. There are a lot of proposals in there should you get to see those. But yeah, we'll go into that a little bit more detail. So yes, you can select. This is all down to Toon. So Toon and Chris and Nesta and Mark all need to be given plaudits for this. They've done a heck of a lot of work with this, and it's meant that if you have a software proposal, you now have a complete template for that. If you want to do fundamental research, complete template for that, and a product oriented proposal. We'll be adding more templates as we need to, such as protocol improvement templates, things like that. So watch this space as it develops. On the right hand side of the screen, you can see the overview of what needs to be filled in. Some of these guys like Paul and other people have filled in one of these proposals in our test site, and now we've used all that data to formulate exactly how we're building these templates. So we are now looking at the scientific review section. So this is a review section that is basically a sense check. So if someone says, okay, I want $1 billion to, I don't know, go and harvest helium-3 on the moon, and they haven't really thought about it at all, this scientific review will stop these people from just spamming us filled with rubbish proposals and things like that haven't been thought through, haven't been talked about on the Discord. And yeah, it's just an initial fail-safe. We've also got the rubric review, which I will go into now. So yes, we have the rubric review, which will allow everybody to vote on how valuable each section of the template is. There's a space to comment on it, so you can all comment and we can all work out what everybody thinks of certain proposals, certain aspects of the proposals, and things like that. This allows a lot of fine-tuning when it comes to the proposals. Okay, so this is the rubric summary. So once everybody has put their votes in, it averages out the votes and gives it a complete score so that we can, as a community, understand what we think as a community based on our feedback and our peer review of the project. So all of this will be displayed in an easy-to-see PDF. All the data is completely open and transparent. So as we peer review each other's work, this will be our ledger, essentially, of what we've done. So this is the on-chain side of things. So once we've gone from a rubric vote, or the community are involved, we've got an on-chain vote. And this is where you'll be able to delegate your vote to an expert. So say you don't understand a certain bit of it and you want Bob to answer on your behalf, you can delegate your single vote to Bob or Paul or Alex or whomever, and then you can delegate your voting rights, basically. And this will allow experts to have the final decision on whether something gets funded or not, whether something needs to be pulled back, whatever needs to happen. This happens on chain, and was one of the most difficult things we did because we were the first people to try and do this within a website rather than within the third-party application. So this took a little bit of time. You can do it from our website or from their third-party app site, snapshot.box, I think it is, and you can vote on either bits. All of the data from the rubric voting is put into a PDF format so that you can see exactly what you're voting on. Also, that was quite challenging because they never had anybody put as much data next to a vote before. Normally, it was just like, a couple of questions, a little bit of a paragraph, and that everyone was voting. Whereas we've got lots and lots and lots of data. So yeah, and any other supporting documents that are a part of this are also included within this on-chain vote. Okay, so we've set up a full donations page with a walkthrough and exactly how to use your wallet. Either you're bringing your own wallet, or when you sign up, it spins you up a wallet, easy to do, and it will navigate you through all the way from setting your wallet up, which is instant, by the way, as soon as you log in, trying to set you up with multiple entry points so you can have a backup in Twitter, Google, things like that. And that will allow you to have multi-access points to this account so you won't lose it. You can always log in with Gmail or whatever the heck it is. We also have an on-ramp, so that's already working and everything like that. So you can use your own card and pay for things and donate to the treasury all from within the application without having to leave, without having to go to a third party, anything. So it's all built in and ready to go. Okay, we were about, when was this? The 3rd of December. We were doing our final bug hunt, we thought. And when we were doing our final bug hunt, a few bugs did arise as Toon and everybody were testing it. But this was a major vulnerability. So this was a huge security problem for a lot of applications worldwide, and this has meant we've had a critical vulnerability since pretty much the 3rd of December, which we've been trying to fix. As far as I understand, it's a Next.js vulnerability that quite a lot of people are dealing with, and we just have to deal with it as fast as we possibly can in a correct way that doesn't impact the code and result in more bugs and more vulnerabilities. So this is what we're literally working on right now. Okay, so the next stage, we are moving the application over to production servers. We ideally wanted to have this done to this call, but since that bug reared its head, we've been hampered by that. We are launching our access token on mainnet. I think the price is going to be about $1, maybe up to $10 at some point, but about $1 to start with. So you won't have to on-ramp very much. You might be able to have, a couple of quid in a different crypto wallet, whatever you need to do. But the idea is just to get everybody in. Once we've got enough people in, and if we don't notice anybody creating thousands of accounts or anything like that, we will ramp up the entry price, to a couple of bucks to $10, something like that. We are going to be inviting more people to test. As every time we've expanded this and invited more people, we found a couple more bugs which have been challenging. And we're going to move the code base to GitHub to continue development in an open source model. So within GitHub itself, and I know originally Bob said, okay, everything has to be decentralized, or as much as possible should be decentralized. It's an absolute nightmare. I am not even joking. Like, you'd think that in the DeFi space, which is supposedly decentralized finance, there'd be loads of options for decentralization, but in actual fact, there's not. So we have a mirrored version of the code on GitLab, so that's the decentralized version, and we're going to use GitHub because it allows you to do more open source development with other people, so everybody can get access to the code base. They can come in, set tasks and things like that, which people from outside of our community come and actually do in an open source manner. So this is actually really good for us. I had wanted the Shoulders AI ready for tonight in Discord, but apparently it's going to be for the weekend. So this is a Ken Shoulders AI that will sit in our Discord in a channel, and if you ever want to talk to Ken Shoulders about any of his work that has ever been published, we may even try and get the transcripts in there. Oh, that's a good idea. From the Hutchinson interviews. So yeah, this will have just about everything that we have online for Ken Shoulders, and you'll be able to ask any question to Ken Shoulders AI bot quite easily. And that'll be working in our Discord. We're just literally waiting on the okay to go with that one. So I'm sorry that that's not done yet, really am. So yeah, we've got some more experienced developers have come out of the woodwork and really want to be helping with this. We've got artifact stuff to integrate. We need, we've got lots of stuff that needs doing that we haven't been able to do for the MVP. So yeah, we can do this in a more collegiate way, and we can get more people in to work on this. But yeah, I'm eager to hand it over to the community. I desperately am. Finances. So, many of you may not know, on the 10th of October, crypto suffered a major loss of like about everything lost. Well, the stuff I was in, about 50% in about 15 minutes. So I went out eating to eat some tacos. By the time I'd finished my tacos, my net worth had been decimated. So up to the time being, development costs are north of 60K to date, and it's all been funded by myself, and I've been very happy to do so. The other investors I had who were on the sidelines, who were willing to put some capital in when we launched, they are in survival mode as well. They don't really understand what's going on with the market. It could go one way, it could go the other, in absolute honesty. So we'll see what happens. There's loads of things like impacting things on a geopolitical level, that anything could really happen. You even had the lunatic European Union saying that they'd sell bonds. They sell all the American bonds, and I'm just like, it's just insane what's going on in the world. So yeah, um, they're going to hold on to their funds until the conditions improve. And what this has meant is I've had to look not necessarily for a full-time job, but I've started working on something that actually pays the bills. So I've been working on a company called Judge Finance. We're a third of a way through a fundraising round, and what this essentially does is it prints money. So you put your dollars in, and it finds you a place where you get the highest yield, and it does it for you automatically and with institutional security. So that's what I've been working on since October, actually. The reason I've been working on that is because I need to go and make some money. I need to ensure that I can support my family and move forward. So there has been talk of other investors who wanted to get involved in this. We're going to need your capital soon to invest in projects, because we are literally ready to start this. There's been so much work going on in the background, and I'm really proud of what everyone's been doing. And I think if we can come together and fund all this ourselves, even if it's 100 quid here, 100 quid there from everybody, we could get to the stage where we can start funding things. Um, there is a very wonderful gentleman called Brian White, and who's reached out to us, and what he's talked about is other revenue streams. So Lex has been instrumental about that, helping with all of that and communicating and networking, and doing some absolutely wonderful things behind the scenes. So he's talking about creating. Hi, Rudy. Um, so yeah, he's talking about getting some other revenue streams up and going, because we've done lots of really, really good work. There's various things that could be monetized in theory. So yeah, we'll be looking at that over the coming months, and hopefully have an update for that. Where are we next? Okay, so we have some updates from a project. Now this might be quite noisy, so bear in mind. It has a bit of a noise going on in the background. This is from Hank. So Bob's already seen this video. Oh, I'll turn it down. This is a thunderstorm generator, and it seems to be working. So Hank has been with Jan Rack in Czech. I'm sure Bob's done an update. So he doesn't really have any material, but what he has been playing around with is this thunderstorm generator. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to just include this as something that was going on in the community. And yeah, I'm quite intrigued by it myself, to be perfectly honest. I think it's really interesting to see these being tested in the wild, and hopefully they work, and it's a magnificent product. Yeah, great hopes for it after seeing it like this. So yeah, wonderful. Okay, so this is going to be the section where I introduce other people. So at the moment, we have is there a gentleman called Earthworm Jim in here?
Earthworm Jim in the house.
There we go. Thank you very much, James. May I introduce you and hand the floor to you?
Sure thing.
Do you have anything prepared, like a presentation?
Yeah, just a short, like, few minutes that I just put together just to introduce the project a bit and myself.
Okay, let me.
Nothing visual, just me chatting.
Okay, cool. Well, chat away then, sir, and I shall not take away my screen.
Great, thanks. Yeah, firstly, amazing to see the site and everything coming together like that. It's really incredible. So yeah, I've been working in the background on the Windhex pretty much obsessively over the last year. And now I thought it was time to sort of poke my head up and appear in in the Discord. I'm pretty nervous. I'm pretty nervous to be speaking now, so sorry. um, so I've been sharing my Dree drive, and that hosts all my cab files, updates, quotes. It's been really fun to interact on the Discord and take feedback and ask questions and get advice and ideas, as well as sharing my thoughts. But I've mostly been, like I said, just doing research into getting the Windhex to be a physical thing. And over the last month, has gone from being my private obsession. And when I say private, my family are sick to death of me talking about it, but private in a sense of not many people know what I'm up to. So, to give you a bit of background, I'm really here because of Tony and Bob, quite honestly. Tony reverse engineered the Windhex work and completely blew my mind when I first came across it. The fact that you was able to take that original Prolifica patent, scale it down, make it buildable, and shared it openly, that was just really inspiring. And then, of course, Bob being Bob with his enthusiasm and the way he connects all these threads, that what really got me into this. I was obsessed with his ontology and the meaning of all his research, but with this machine was first shared, it just really grabbed me. Quite literally, been obsessed with it ever since. So what I've been doing is basically taking Tony's design and working, and then instructed an engineer called Flavio, who had 25 years experience building agricultural machines. He wanted to take Tony's prototypes and turn it into something more industrial, something that could take a higher airflow, be simpler to assemble, and hopefully be rust enough for proper instrumentation. Tony mentioned his first version was quite fiddly to put together, so part of the goal was to keep the spirit of the machine for his design, but make a version that can survive being pushed much harder. And here we are now. So I was introduced to somebody named Pavel, who attended this year's Alchemy of Prague event, and he met somebody named Laszlo, who I'd met at the previous year's event, which I attended, and they put me in contact. And basically, he stepped up to the plate and is able to get my CAD files fabricated through his industry, which is massive because he's got a big sources and big outreach, and he's really been helping me a lot with this, and it's been really great. And as of today, it's been confirmed, and we've had a review process done with my engineer. Went back and forward a couple of times, and we've given it the green light to get these parts cut, and they're now in production. So they were being shipped, and they maybe could be here before Christmas, but who knows? January at the pretty exciting. So yeah, they're also going to be doing the bending and rolling and the machining of the parts in their fabrication setup, which is massive because they're really set up to do that. So once the parts arrive out here in Portugal, I've got a friend on board now who is an ex-army electrical engineer, and he's got a workspace that has 21 kilowatts of three-phase power. It's still being renovated, but dry. It's dry and safe, and it's able to let us run the machine to begin with. So, it should work for the spec of the fans and that we've thought about. And then research-wise, this week, really, I've stumbled onto a lot of industrial and academic work around the category, which was being termed high-velocity airflow drying and grinding. Machines such as the Windhex, Devour X, LamiFlow, and especially the air grinder. And suddenly there appear a lot of real data and real engineering context for what we've been doing. Really seeing that kind of shifted this in my head to bring a lot of data and research to make it more believable, I guess. What was interesting is in all their research, they claim very good efficiency for these machines, but they state the mechanism is still not understood. So that leaves, all of this work from Bob and all of our ideas to come together. Yeah, basically, I'm just here because I want this to be a community project. I really don't have all the answers. I'm learning as I go. And I just love the guidance and collaboration with everybody as it goes forward. And I hope to share all information and continue doing it the way that I've been doing it. And yeah, just that's a bit about me. There we go.
Oh,
Absolutely bloody awesome.
Earthworm Jim, could I ask you something that's been burning as a question in my head?
Sure
You're
thing.
dealing with a lot of vortices in air, aren't you?
Sure.
What's the smallest vortices that you've been dealing with? And do they form naturally, or do you have to spin them with a turbine or something?
So how do you mean?
What's your smallest vortex? If I asked you to make a vortex 4 inches across, could you produce one?
Sorry, with your question, how do you mean?
I want a vortex 4 inches across. I don't care about the rest of the Windhex. I'm just looking for a swirl in the air, fairly quick, about four inches across. Could you make one, or do I have to create a turbine to produce one?
Shit, I'm a bit flummoxed by the pressure of the question.
That's absolutely fine. If you can chew that over, I'll get to you online, because I'm trying to put together something a little bit like the pre-treatment bubble chamber in the thunderstorm generator for pre-treating air before it goes into nano bubbles. And I'm looking for a way of using a vortex, and I want a small one. And of course, nature doesn't do small vortexes very often. And I'm looking for what the lower limit is.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had just really kind of threw me there, and then
I'm so sorry. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
I'll get in touch again, but if you can think about it, see what.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
While we're at it, perhaps we should pile on another task for him, because James, I mean, I'm not sure how this abbreviation is going to sell. High velocity airflow grinding dryer. Havafgid. You gotta come up with something better.
Well,
sounds cool.
Well, I've actually called the machine Chaos, Khaeos. So, you know, that's kind of how I'm calling the lineage to this machine, because it stirs the primordial soup. Yeah.
That's fantastic, James. I'm so happy that you're working with Pavel, who's also doing the thunderstorm generator here in the Czech Republic. He's a really sound guy, and you're already aware that he has significant industrial resources. So, accessing that genius level of technological expertise here in the Czech Republic, along with your work, I think it's a great build on what Tony Gibboni initiated. So thank you very much for taking that on, and I hope to see you next year here in the Czech Republic.
Yes, hopefully. Yes. Thank you,
James. That was amazing. Well done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I was quite nervous, but
no, James, it was great work.
Perfect.
Well done.
Thanks very much.
No worries.
Lex, may I hand the presentation screen to you? Is that something that you prefer, sir? Or would you just like to ramble?
I think we'll be rambling because I have notes written down, but I didn't make slides.
Perfect.
And I, as my first task in charge of this presentation, will be passing it on to Brian. Brian, do you feel comfortable talking about our discussion on how we could help people through software fund themselves and interact better with the DAO? Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess first of all, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Charles, can you
great.
remove your presentation so we can spotlight the people speaking?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for the setup, Alex. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, so in the context of alternative funding sources, I suppose it's worth maybe giving a brief introduction, not to shine light on myself, but to just give you some context for why anything I'm about to say should matter to you, I guess. So I am a software engineer. I've been working in the industry for about 20 years or so, not quite, but getting there. And I've been doing full stack, cross-platform development the whole time. I've been doing distributed systems, especially, including things like Web3 and blockchain, for multiple projects, and even doing security auditing for these kinds of projects over the course of my experience. If none of that means anything, suffice it to say I've seen and worked with and read and produced software in many different forms. And so in the context of sort of self-funding and alternative revenue streams, again, I think what I want to share with the group is what I have sort of come to believe for myself. And now that I'm unemployed, what I'm going to be exercising for myself. And I would like to actually do that in the open. And we love to engage with anybody who is interested in these ideas or just curious to learn more. And so, my sort of thesis is that software is essentially the most accessible form of leverage ever created. And especially with modern, AI, machine learning tools and open source tools, and any individual really can become a software company, like one person. And so I think the barrier to entry now is essentially understanding what that looks like, what that means. If you've never been inside of a software company, you might not have any idea about what's the nature of the process that we're going through and how we're thinking about solving problems, and what are the patterns that we have to apply, the solutions and the tools that are at our disposal, what's even possible, right? To understand those things gives you bits that you can think with, and when you look out into the world, you notice problems, you model how things work, right? You imagine, how did they solve that, or why is this thing broken, right? A lot of the stuff that I've been doing in my recent career is protocol engineering, and this means thinking about how are the actors defined, what are their boundaries, what are their interests, incentives, how do they interact with one another. And often the point of this is to develop an understanding of what your protocol needs to be to accomplish its goals given those actors and constraints. And when I look out at the world now, I see protocols everywhere, and all the things that are like wrong when you're standing in line, or you see something that doesn't make sense, like there's just, it's always these protocols that are broken. And I find that it's often because there's like, it's either your protocol is implicit or explicit, and often they're not explicit. And so this is why all the DAO stuff is important, right? And why we're here doing this on chain, So anyway, to bring it back, I think everyone has this potential, and especially all of us, the uniqueness that we have, that's a superpower, because you're going to notice different things from one another and from other people out there. And every time you see friction, or you hear somebody else's friction, right? Like that's an opportunity knocking. And maybe not every one of these things ends up, bringing in, a great deal of money. It's not, everything's a cash cow. But if you're in the mindset of continuously generating ideas about how can I improve things, then eventually you're going to land on something, and then another thing, and you get better at figuring out like what actually makes sense and what really provides value. And whether or not your thing actually makes money, I think building a thing that provides value to real people and being able to see that and get the feedback from those people, that's what drives me. So yeah, I hang out in the Discords, wherever you find yourself, feel free to reach out. Like I said, working actively in this space as I'm currently unemployed, building tools for myself and hopefully for the community as well. And also trying to develop a bit of a curriculum, I guess, because I think there's just a minimum amount of like software history and like what is software that people just need to understand to be able to use the current generation and future generations of AI tools to, like I said, really create your own product from scratch. So thank you for your
Thank you,
time and
Brian.
attention.
Did you mention what you've actually built?
I haven't deployed any, like it's still in development, right? But I have been collecting projects from the community, and sort of my introduction to the community, my love letter to the community was the Leonard Academy project. Special thanks to Dieden as well, who's contributed to that. And yeah, so I'm going to continue trying to help people out. But just after a couple of weeks of talking to everybody, I was able to collect 10 to 12 projects of things that people really want these problems solved. And so like let's come together and discover this process together.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in and add a few. Thank you so much to Martin, who developed InShare, and Brian has come along and rebreathed some life back into that, because Martin worked pretty hard and there wasn't too many people to come in and pick up where he left off. And it means the world to me to see these projects. I don't want to see anybody's work getting left behind. So thank you, Brian, and thank you, Martin. And also, Odd1X, he hasn't gotten mentioned as often as I'd like him to be. He's done amazing work setting up Leonard Fire Newfire, the Newfire video streaming platform, where if you'd like, you can watch any of Bob Greenier's videos. They've all been uploaded to Newfire. If you don't want to use YouTube, you can check out Bob over there. There's other things Odd One has also worked on. I don't want to describe them incorrectly, but he's also working on his own version of Leonardbot. There's a lot of Leonardbots now, and they'll all be useful, and they can all help each other. But again, Odd One has done a lot of great stuff. You guys might know him as the one who founded the unofficial MFMP Discord server, which has been a beacon of light and hope for so many of us who could not figure out how to talk to people that we met on the YouTube live streams. So, hey, I hope you guys can see that, the link to the Discord there. Join us. Come over to Discord. You'll get the link if you look for it. There's an EVO Labs Discord. There's an MFMP Discord. And there's a bunch more with very related topics. And Brian will be on all of them, ready to teach you how to make a software company that can fund your research. Because again, EVO Labs DAO will be creating, acquiring, distributing funds and resources. That's no reason to not have your bills paid in the meantime and know how to do it, and maybe come up with something that pays your bills that supports the DAO and development, R&D, and all of these engineering projects. Because wow, we have a lot of great engineering projects in the physical space, but some of these software projects are incredibly important. And right now I feel they're almost, again, no shade to everyone who's been working on physical things, but this software is what's going to enable us to bring those physical things together and push them forward and collaborate on them. So I want to give a big thanks to all the software developers. I mean, Charles, you've done an amazing job at attracting some great skill. And
Alex,
I guess I'm just going to quickly summarize.
Alex, could you? I don't know if people watching out there know what the Lena Academy is. Brian obviously knows because he's developed it, and you know. But there's over 100 people watching on YouTube now that have not met Brian before, and they don't realize that he's remastered the Nanosoft package into a responsive system that's very, not only responsive in terms of how it can be displayed on various devices, but very responsive in that it downloads the database and you've got a real time, and you also get links that go straight to the answers. Brian, could you do me a favor and maybe just walk through the package that you developed?
Sure.
So share the screen, because I don't. You just mentioned the name as if it was nothing, but you've done a fantastic job, and full respect.
That's very kind of you. Sure. So I think that should be sharing. Is that working?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, if you make the
right.
aspect wider, it'll be clearer for those people on YouTube.
Yeah, apologies. Let's do maybe something like that.
Keep going. Make it. Can you stretch the screen out or change?
Okay. You want?
There you go. That's perfect. Brilliant.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's serendipitous that you asked for this because I just published a release.
I just saw it. That's why.
Okay. Great. Yeah, so like I said, this is kind of my love letter to the community, and I saw an opportunity here in the user experience of the Nanosoft package. So to tie this to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, I'm not making any money off of this. I just thought it would be a cool thing to do, and I thought about how I could do it and make it a nice UX with what I have experience with. So yeah, so here's the landing page, trying to give credit and call out all the wonderful work that has come before, and the thought that because replicating something is not the same as implementing a thing from scratch for the first time. It's a much different effort, and in fact, when you build a thing, like you're probably going to build it 2 or 3 times before you get to a point where you're going to be able to sell it or you're like really satisfied with it. But yeah, so it's open source. There's issues and project management stuff in GitHub, but we won't have to look at that. The kind of core piece is the elements themselves. So we have a periodic table here with again some like future improvements. Neutrinos represented. I don't think electrons and I don't think the electron needs to be there, but we have the deuterium and tritium because they're special in the linear context, so we need to be able to select them independently, but the rest are just elements. We've got all the elemental data, just try to lay it out in a nice accessible way. if you look at an element that has radioactive nuclei, especially ones that aren't long-lived, then you can get to a place where you see a radioactive decay table. It's sort of summarized, and the legend is dynamic, so it should only show things that are relevant to the current data set. But I guess we have a lot of different kind of decay modes here. Yeah, so that's that. Let's see here. If we, stable element, do we have one that? Yeah, here's a stable one that's also has radioactive decay, and then in this case we have a decay chain, so we can sort of visualize things. And there's knobs and things for all these stuff. But there's a lot of early, this is experimenting with ideas and user experience, and I tried to cover a lot of ground. So
it's looking really good, Brian. Really good.
There's like a tabular version where we can go in here and sort of look at things from this perspective. If you wanted to look at the individual nucleides, that might be a good use of the tabular view. You can filter for things. Decay modes are all here, right? So just giving everyone access to the data in a visually appealing way. Okay, more interesting things. Fusion reactions, right? There's the big three categories, right? Fusion, fission, and 2 to 2. Each of the UIs is similar in that you have some inputs and some outputs. So in the case of fusion, we have 2 inputs, 2 outputs, and we can select
aluminium,
whatever you want. Aluminium, okay. And then we can just we can clear this one, say anything, and we'll see we get this little heat map of how much any of these things produces reactions. So the more green in this case, the more reactions we have. We're not, the 2 to 2 is better for really looking at this thing. But for each of these things, we also are going to end up with some table of the actual reaction results. We can link, I tried to link things and make things make sense. As Bob was saying, if we say we're on, so we save ourselves some space here. And if we tried to imagine it's a mobile device, we should still be able to get around. We can select individual things and see the data here, like trying to make the data accessible, right? Let's skip to 2 to 2 for a second, maybe just to see more. Why are we? Let's just get everything. How about that? Yeah, and then now there's more results than our filter is allowing. So if we just wanted to look at all of the reactions in the table, we should be able to toggle this. Here we have a bug. Another one. So thanks, Bob. Yeah, something. No, the whole page is frozen. Wonderful. Okay. Just reload here. Yeah, I think it was probably clicking that button. Yeah, so it's a pretty heavy. So there's, I did it again. So there's a lot of resource requirement there for this. It's a lot of results. And we asked it to do it live. So my mistake. Let's see if we can load a new one. Okay, so to look at the feature that I just added, if anybody's interested, the most recent sort of direction that I was trying to go to finish out the original tool functionality that was there was the simulation stuff. And so a similar kind of idea. We want to be able to select what our input elements are. And initially it was pretty simple. We have a few parameters, temperature and energy, and how many loops we're willing to run our compute for. But this doesn't really represent like what happened in Piantelli's materials or whatever, right? So that's where the material selectors come in here. And again, I want to give a shout out to Diodon, who also worked on this feature. So thank you, sir. And we have a list of different groups of nucleides. So instead of having to go and add each individual nucleide and try to look at the proportion, it's just a catalog of things here. So we've got categories of natural materials, metals and gases and air, right? As well as alloys, so different kinds of steel and titanium. I would love open Zoll, open source. So please, fill this material bucket up. I would love to see more things. Right, Liner specific materials. Right, like I said, Piantelli's nickel hydrogen system, or some Parkhomov, or some of these things that people were using, and so you can select.
For instance, if you've got a hydrogen in there, you will get tritium produced. But if you use a lithium aluminium deuteride, you'll never get tritium produced, because the system doesn't produce a radioactive material typically other than tritium. And when you get up to the very heavy end of things. So these are fantastic work. It just really is fantastic work. And if I may be so bold, if you want to give your PayPal details out there, because I know what it's like to have literally no money. I did it for quite a few years. I mean, literally no money. If you've been made unemployed, you've still got bills. If someone wants to say a thank you to Brian for working on this tool, and maybe to give him a reason to accelerate his development. Brian, if you want to give your PayPal out, and I'll just leave it up to the listeners as to whether they want to sling you a few bucks. I think I might myself.
If I may, I was just going to say, you guys can find him pretty quick at brianchriswhite.com.
Right.
This is true. Feel free to reach out to me. That's my identity.
Nobody employ him until he's finished the job.
Look, honestly, I think my employment days might be over, not by my choice. I think it's just like the nature of things, and I don't know that I would want to do what it takes to continue to do software development in the future version of it. So,
right,
just my 2 cents. But I'd love to talk to people.
While we're at it, I figure I may as well add all the other amazing things that Brian's working on. Again, he's not fully responsible for them, but if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be moving forward. He's working on a Discord stats sort of bot for Discord that will basically give us like a little newsletter of what's been going on. Help you find any documents that may have been shared. Because I know some of us like to follow the Discord religiously, and some of us can only afford to check in every so often and with like a little report. So that's one thing he's working on. He's also got an agentic research and development platform that, I'll let him discuss that another day, but that's going to be very helpful for us as well. And I really want to thank you for that. And also thank you for one last thing, which I think is a good segue into talking about the physical projects again. This is still a digital thing, but it will help our physical projects. Brian here has said that he's fully willing to help develop the fuel reformer tuning software, which that doesn't really mean anything because I just made it up, but I think some of us know what I'm referring to. There's a lot of different fuel reformer technology out there. I think there's a lot of overlap. I think that one of the things that's held back the development of all of these fuel reforming technologies is a lack of software for automated tuning or for developing a sort of the equivalent of an ECU in a car, because these fuel reformers require tuning and often on the fly, especially with varying loads. So I know that this technology works. I've talked a lot about how much I love fuel reformer technology and how I feel that it's the one thing that is like absolutely just one step away from people using it to get better energy efficiency, better usage of these technologies, these advanced, again, it's hard to pick a word, 0 point free energy, the Lehner, there's a lot of great terms thrown around out there. But in essence, if we're talking about technology that can change the world, I think, again, software is one way to take these amazing inventions that have been developed over decades and make them work efficiently and make them into products that we can start developing right now. And I just figured I would mention, thank you, Brian, because without you, again, we do have another member of our team that is familiar with mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and software development, which is a really hard combo to find. You don't find many car mechanics that can program an ECU and then also know how to do lots of other fun electronic stuff. That is our lovely friend Space Case Zero with his own server. Some of you that are engineers might already be on that server. If you'd like to be, you can just ask us. Thank you, Space Case Zero, for helping put together this team to design the fuel reformer tuning software. And thank you, Brian, for joining this team and really providing us with a little more confidence that we can develop the software the way it was meant to be.
My pleasure. Happy to help.
Honestly, this is amazing. Well done, guys. Like amazing. Like I did say special thanks on that slide, and the reason why special thanks, Brian, you're doing such amazing work. Like really, really happy with what's going on. So yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. We also have Toon in the house, I believe. Are we available on mic, sir?
Yes.
I've barely even gotten to look at the Ken Shoulders documents. Did you? I'm so excited. Tune is
No,
up
I
to
haven't
quite a
had
few
time
good
for it
things.
yet. I even forgot to like integrate it into the slides. Hey, open. Christ. This is the first time I'm using LibreOffice and I can't find the present button. I made these slides and now how do I start from first slide? Ah, great. Ah, great. It's wrong screen. Okay, better.
You just need to share the presentation as well.
Right. One more thing.
So in the Zoom interface down the bottom middle somewhere.
Green button.
That should be it. Oh, that is not it. Let's just do screen 2. If it shows my screen, yes. Are we seeing it?
There we go.
Okay, great. Great. So first, there is the Kinvestigations. We want to know more about the like an accurate record of Ken's work. I know there's a lot of documents out there, but the patent itself is pretty obtuse, and the book, there's a lot of information in all of his sources, but it's not like concrete enough to be actionable in and of itself unless you've got lithography machines. I suspect a lot of it to be true because it like lines up with so much of the other accounts that we've come across. But with that, we wanted to have some meetings and interviews with people who were closer to the actual project itself, like as it was being worked on. So a rough timeline of of Ken Shoulders' research and like the EV research in general. Ken has a pretty, how do you say, accoladed background. He's definitely accomplished, but once the EV research starts, there's a little bit of pre-Jupiter work, and then he goes to Austin, and there's the patent with a lot of information in it. Then there's independent research, of which he has a lot of documents, but again, nothing as concretely, detailedly laid out as the patent itself. And apparently, further investigations have also gone on with EarthTech. So we've had a meeting with George Hathaway. He was there doing analyses on the claims of over-unity that Ken presented. He did not recall using any of the microscopic, the photolithographic designs that Ken had in this patent, only 2 big devices. And according to him, no credible results of over unity came out. But then again, none of the actual patent designs seem to have been replicated at scale. Also, something else might have gone wrong. Additionally, he was looped back in somehow through John Hutchinson, which is why I have this second little 1 asterisk blurb there. Do you guys see my mouse, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why that's there. George Hathaway was also involved with John Hutchinson and Ken Shoulders a little bit. But altogether, nothing concretely detailed about the EVO experiments came out. Then we had a meeting with Scott Little, and he is like an expert at calorimetry and power analysis. He also worked in conjunction with George Hathaway a little bit, but doesn't recall working directly with Ken Shoulders. He did do some repeat experiments with Earth Tech on Ken's on Ken's devices, or a continuation of principles within like EVO technology. But those also were done at like larger scales, so not the microscopic stuff that's actually in the patent. And not a lot of the like more intricate designs were used at all. It was really just a like spark, which might have been making excess energy, but didn't seem to do so in their experiments. We are hoping to be able to get in touch with Stephen Shoulders, because he would have, hopefully, how to put it, the other side of the story, if there is such a side to the story, of Ken Shoulders' experience before Jupiter Tech, because, yeah, George Hathaway and Scott Little weren't involved at that point to begin with, during Jupiter Tech and after. And possibly his insights could help us, establish a more concrete picture of like, a bunch of still unanswered questions. Then, after the last meeting, I've made 13 more models. There are 2 or so more to come from the patent itself. There are a lot more drawings in there, but a lot of the drawings aren't really diagrams. No, not schematics. They're more like diagrams or illustrations. Like in this section, all of the models actually have like dimensions. In a lot of other schematics, they just have like, here's the boundary, like circuit diagrams, basically. Also, for a sense of scale, this little alumina plate is around 1.5 by 1.5 centimeters. This little disc is 0.5 centimeters across. And this little intricate stuff, bigger here, those are the size of the photolithographic like devices that most of the patent is filled with. These things are like a millimeter at a side. I hope this technology works on a larger scale, because making these photolithographically would be a nightmare. So the designs are focused on the ability to control the direction of travel of EVs, clever interpretations of how to create EVs, and the generations of fast pulses, which can generate yet another class of EVs. Well, I also came across the traveling wave tube. The process of energy extraction seemed like rectifying the energy of a pulse, not a transformer-like coupling. And the mode of energy generation isn't very clearly explained in a way that can be tested either. By far, for me, the most valuable part of this research has been the little nuggets of information in each like subsequent description of a device, where little details that don't get mentioned elsewhere suddenly pop out. And that brings me to oh wow, the image quality has reduced. That brings me to my last slide. What I intend to do next. Oh, this is my last slide, actually, second to last. I'm almost done with the relevant models. There are a few relevant models remaining. There are a few more large models, but besides the fact that they're photolithographically scaled, there are quite a lot of open questions regarding the properties of these EVs remaining. So even if you manage to make them exactly to spec, it isn't precisely clear what the xenon pressure should be, or what the shielding around it should be, or yeah. So what I find more relevant here after the patent is to properly summarize all of the EV and material properties mentioned and described in the patent, make a roadmap of those open questions and a roadmap of the experiments to figure out those questions. The first question, like heralding back to the first slide, would of course be, do a lot of these funny little path diverters and steering devices and the pulse generators, do they work on a larger scale? Because being able to make them at a larger scale would make it a lot more easy to make them. Then there's one last thing, a quick shout out to Chris Scott. I haven't made any updates on the Bagel game myself for a while now. And that's because I've been working on this Ken Shoulders work a lot. But I've been in contact with Chris Scott a bit. He's doing really good work on the bagel coils. He's making a big array. And he is, actually setting up a company to do research into it. If I remember correctly, it is going to have a branch that does like energy research, which is going to be like closed source, but a lot of the like fractal toroidal moment research stuff, the stuff that lines up perfectly with the Bagel game and the other like fractal toroidal moment stuff, it's going to be open source. Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
If I may, I just wanted to see what your opinion was, Toon, on the fact that it appears we have permission to copy the works of Shoulders that are in the Science History Institute in Philly. Do you think that's true?
Where did you get that? Is that in the archivist chat? Or?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I should not be sending updates to people 1 hour before our live call, but I did get the files from the Texas Chamber of Commerce, and it appears that his investor would have inherited ownership of that, but it doesn't seem like he did anything with it, and therefore I believe it's orphaned. I believe we can go to Science History Institute and just say, we accept the risk, of which there doesn't appear to be any. But then again, I only
we
got
could always decide to accept the risk. There is just the I really hope to get in touch with Stephen Shoulders first to also get permission for the for his estates, like the works that he's produced, his creative works. I know that it most likely won't really be necessary, since it is publicly available if you go to the archive. But in a way, he does still reserve publishing rights. And if we're just throwing it out there in the open, the estate couldn't publish it anymore. So there is a possibility of a problem there, but we could always decide to accept that risk. I would just prefer to check that part with Stephen first. Besides that, the what's it called? The Jupiter Tech rights, those are clearly dissolved. So, look, there was one document. We all know of EVO: A Tale of Discovery, but there was another like EVO EV Inventions by Ken Shoulders that I couldn't find a good copy of online, which was also published under Jupiter Tech, which would almost certainly, because it is his work, but if it was contracted by Jupiter Tech and Jupiter Tech's copyright has like orphaned, we could totally just publish that.
Tone.
So this does open a lot of doors already. Yeah.
Tone, thank you very much for this work in this direction. It's absolutely critical to get the foundations right, and really appreciate you building out those drawings. As I understand it, it was Hal Fox that purchased the patents and the rights to the technologies developed by Ken Shoulders, and I was told by someone recently that Hal Fox is no longer with us, as from quite some time ago. So maybe that also plays in. But I do agree with you. It's best to at least offer Stephen Shoulders the opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah, we have made a first attempt to reach out to Stephen Shoulders. We have not heard back from him yet. Yeah, I don't want to become overbearing, but yeah, we would really like to get direct approval from him, or whatever other relevant guardian of the estate.
So for those people that don't know, we
mention to
received
Fox-
some documents regarding Ken Shoulders' work. I don't know whether you want to talk to that or whether Charles wants to talk to that.
Like everybody said, we got them an hour before the call, so I've looked through a couple of them. I think there was only one thing that I sent to Bob before, which I actually just deleted off my screen about.
Well, I can show it if you want, because I've got it on my
yeah.
phone here. So for those people that don't know, I said that the project that I would like to do most, Tone, can you redo your sharing or whatever it is you're doing?
Redo it. I'll have to find
it's okay.
the.
Anyway,
again.
yeah. So basically, based on the work that Henk Uren did in the Vega experiment and the analysis of that, thank you. No, yeah. So take that down. Yeah.
Which one?
If you could, no, not anything you're showing. I'm going to show something that was sent to me by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing screen anymore.
Okay, great. So basically, I suggested that we create a ball lightning based direct electrical generator based on what came out of the happenstance, the serendipity of the heat tubes in the Vega experiment from Henk Uren, and our development of that. You might have seen the presentation where I've got a ball at the end of that, and the idea is that the ball spins in ball lightning sense at about 100,000 kilometers a second, which is about one third the speed of light. And if that's moving charged particles around, you can do what Mikhail Solin suggested in his direct electricity patent in 2001, which was rejected by the US Patent Offices, where he created this coherent sphere and had an inductor coil around it. So direct electricity generator. And I called it Project Zeus to develop this technology to make a direct electricity generator from induction, capturing the power. There's a similar technology which is in the Kirill Chukhanov patents, which has also expired. But then Charles sent me this image today, which is the first thing he saw, and it's about the ownership of the Jupiter Toy Company. So the Jupiter Toy Company was the organization funding the early work of Ken Shoulders, and that was owned by a parent company. And so essentially I was calling the Project Zeus to develop a ball lightning based energy generation technology, and the company that owned, as I found out about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, Jupiter Toy Company, was this: Zeus Technologies Incorporated. So there we go. If you don't feel like you're living in a simulation, this is one of those moments. So thank you for that delightful piece of history that you sent me today earlier, Charles. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what else is in that archive.
Zeus has happened. It's time for Prometheus.
Wonderful. Toon, exceptional work as usual. Keep it up. I'm looking forward to getting something manufactured, made, and then maybe going to Tony's new place that he might have.
Ooh, Tony?
Cool. Is Tony here?
He is. Well, he is.
Yeah, I'm still there.
What do you have for us, Tony? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I'm moving shop again. Been moving a lot lately, but yeah, from January on forward, I will be moving my workshop into a new space. It's even closer by my house than it is right now. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So we do a lot of woodworking in the shop as well. But next to that, it will be a more cleaner, more professional space to do some actual work on projects as well, which would be nice. Still have the Windhex project waiting in line. Still want to give that a good whirl next year in spring. And I'm also taking inventory on how it would be possible to do a quick build of a clad of cavitator, because I already made the script, the grasshopper script, and yeah, a couple of people with 3D printers were very much interested to try something out. But yeah, I'm also still eager to try to print one myself, at least make a plastic one to begin with. And if there's anything, yeah, if there are any snags and hooks popping up, I can fix those. And then it might be interesting to do some aluminum casting or some metal casting to get some impellers into a nice, what you call it, nice cavitation machine.
Tony, can I just interject and say that Steve down in Australia, who came to the conference this year, he's very keen to work on this. He actually went ahead and bought a hydrosonics device from the company that was born out of Jim Griggs' work, and
nice.
He's actually found it's doing some very interesting things with his mining residues. Let's put it like that. I can't go into it. It's something that he would have to talk about himself. It's not like I've signed an NDA, but it's just his place to talk about it when he can get the opportunity. But it would seem that his early research is showing that they are doing something very anomalous. And also I'm hoping to go and visit Vladimir Zhigulov in Kazakhstan as soon as possible next year, because he's testing a 70 kilowatt input cavitator, which is one of the commercial heat producing devices that are for sale in the Soviet sphere and peripheral countries. So I'm very interested to find out how his research onto that scale of device is progressing. So yeah, I think this is one of the most fruitful avenues. I'm going to be meeting up in just over a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks with Binju and Huang in Taiwan. So again, another cavitation system there. So yeah. Anyway, that's my interjection. Carry on, Tony.
Yeah, we were also considering maybe purchasing one from the Griggs hydrosonic pump company.
I think that's a very good approach, and what I've said, I don't know whether he's done it, but I've said both to Steve and I've also said to Binju and Huang, and I said this in my publicly recorded video, which was interacting with Vlad Zhigulov in Morioka, is to add aluminosilicates as was done by Kladov to change the excess heat from the low single digits up to in excess of, I think it was 11.7, I think it got to. I can share with the community the recommended aluminosilicates that I believe are most preferential, and they're standard reagents which you can get. And so I think the fastest way to get to testing this is to buy a hydrosonics device which is known to do the job, and put an abrasive in it, an aluminosilicate, and see if you get a higher COP out.
Yeah, it's also kind of with the Windhex, it's kind of the chicken and the egg problem, because we also want to inject steam into the Windhex. And yeah, one of those hydrosonic pumps would be perfect to do.
Yeah, I mean, the idea it needs to be over 100 degrees, because you need to get that supercritical type ability to do the charge separation. And then it's about angling, in my view, angling those jets such that it forms the right kind of wheel within wheel within wheel structure. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to both your work and James's work. It's going to be epic, I think.
Yeah,
with
I'm also looking forward to James's work as well, because I've seen the design he created, and yeah, it's very promising. And it's also great that more people are starting to approach this Windhex thing from different angles, because there are so many questions popping up when you start doing testing. Like building it is the easy part. As soon as you start testing, it's like, oh, you got lots of answers to try to answer, lots of questions you need to answer. So,
well, I can say Pavel's got the resources. So when we get somewhere to having a functional device, the fact that the designs are open is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, awesome. Nice. Yeah, my current workshop is like it's in a wing of an elementary school. So it's not very a safe place to do all sorts of crazy experiments. But my next workshop is in a more industrial place. So that's more privacy, just a better place to do actual testing as well. So that's going to be awesome.
Fantastic.
And Charles, much compliments on the work on the DAO. It's looking amazing, man. It's so impressive. It's like you guys have moved mountains to get where you are now.
It certainly felt like that at times. But yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the very kind words. That's very kind, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.
We also have Paul, Artifact, and Ken in the room. I was wondering if either of three gentlemen would like to give an update on what they've been doing.
Oh, well, I mean, this will be news to Ken as well, because Alex and I haven't quite finished the bill of materials aspect of the build, but we've got something to show. Have you by any chance got that PowerPoint presentation I sent you, Charles?
Yes, I do. You're gonna have to give me
a few slides off that would be worth showing, just so that we can demonstrate what's gone on. We don't want the whole thing. There's probably too much of it, but there's a few good pictures on there, so why not?
Okay, just have to download it for a second. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, this is fairly self-explanatory. It just goes through the process of actually building it, and it's very specific about what went into it, what materials have gone into it, and it really puts forward the idea that this is just a start. The actual shape of the thing is enshrined in some step files, which can be taken away and made bigger or in different materials quite easily. But this is just a demo of how the thing works, and it's now running quite well and sealing up quite nicely, and it's passed electrical and pressure tests, so it's not far from being used. If you just run through it fairly quickly, Charles, there's nothing much to say here. There's a lot about the background of it and some bits and pieces. Cavitation electrolyzer. This is the old system that we got as a starting point. Far too big, far too complicated, and needs a nice big lab. So the question was, what can you get onto a desktop? And the answer is, well, less, but doing a few more things. This is what the prototype looks like. You can see 4 cylinders, static one in the middle and 3 rotating in any direction, left or right, up, outside, and each cylinder has a rolling electrical contact on it, which allows up to about 60 or 70 volts, and the cylinders will effectively rotate at about 1600 RPM. I'm in the process now of developing the correct driver for the motors, which will get it up to 2000 RPM at some point. But obviously there's a limit. The plastic won't hold together forever. So it'll be interesting to see how fast it will go before it explodes or before something interesting happens. I'll be keeping you up to date on that. But anyway, you can see it circulates water through. The design concept is that it's got a control pyramid. It's got a sensor module which the water circulates through, which is good for measuring solutes in the water quality. And it's got a main unit that will support lasers, sensors, gas monitors, and a whole lot of push-fit gas-type access ports around the whole thing, which will allow us to measure pretty much whatever we want. I deliberately haven't specified the sensors because I know that's something we've got to talk about before we spend money on them. But the actual skeleton of the thing is right there. that vertical tube actually puts about 6 liters of water a minute into the top, and it comes out through 3 suction pipes or drain pipes at the side, and either goes round again or into the sensor module, depending how you set it up. And the pyramid contains 3 drivers for 3 stepper motors, which give you forward and reverse and very accurately controlled acceleration up to whatever speed you can. In this case, I think about 1,000 RPM on these rather small and inadequate controllers. It's got a series of 4 switches which allow you to make each cylinder positive, negative, floating, or earthed, and you can put the voltage on those up to currently about 60 volts, but I think we might push it up to maybe 90 if all goes well. We'll see how it pans out. Electrically, the thing is reasonably sound and seems to be passing its initial set of tests. It's been insulated with various layers of silicone paint on insulation. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. The cylinder stack, it's pretty straightforward. Keep going, keep going, keep going. That's how it works. Each color represents the gear that drives it and the platter on which the cylinder sits. The whole thing just runs on a central shaft, which is hollow and which contains circulating pipes for the water. Keep going. And that's how the contacts work. They're just rolling contacts. They're made of phosphor bronze running on a hollow brass shaft, to which is soldered some copper wires, 3 or 4 copper wires capable of taking high current. And keep going. That's it. The top of it is, you can see there a diagram of the top and also the support structure. Keep going. That's it. Gas tight modules. You can push fit cylindrical sensors in, but you can also make up cylindrical plugs which will take sensors of any size up to about 14 to 16 millimeters. And of course, you've got a transparent pressure tight top with a gas tight central port which the water goes into. And of course, that top can be drilled and tapped and messed about with so that you can get direct access for lasers, although it is fitted with an ability to put small lasers, the half a 1 or 2 sort of milliwatt size, into the support structures beneath the lid. So we've got the opportunity to put laser light between the cylinders. Next again, please. There's just a bit more ports and electrical wiring. That's how they've driven a very simple triplex stepper motor drive. I picked the most powerful NEMA 17 one I could find on the basis that it will be fast and cheap, and it is too. The controllers also are fast and cheap. They come straight off Amazon and plug straight into the pyramid. The only drawback with the controllers is they really could, the motors could go twice as fast as the controllers allow. And I'm in the process now of designing an Arduino driven special driver setup on a second cylinder, and it's worth having a look when I've got it going fast, because as I say, it's either going to work well or something's going to blow. A lot of power going into it. Okay, next, herringbone gears. So the whole thing is designed on balance of forces, so the gears don't go either up or down, they're just in balance. Keep going. That's it. They're just put together with watertight bearings. This is based on Ken Pratt's suggestion of how to do it. We've got a couple of small bearings. We've got a silicone grease packing, and then a rubber seal sitting over the top of it on a simple smooth shaft. That's how it all goes together. That's the actual parts. Keep going. Keep going. Underside, that's how their motors fit. That's just close-ups. Central shaft and fluid port, yes. And the cylinder stack assembly, well, it's pretty straightforward. I think that's almost all I want to show you at the moment. The rest of it is pretty trivial. Are you happy with that?
Beautiful, Paul.
Fantastic, Paul. Really amazing.
It actually works, which is more amazing. But, I'll let you know about the whether I start seeing plasmoids spinning out of it or whether it leaves the bench and flies. But we're actually getting there.
And have you tested it on, say, seed germination or something like that?
Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. Remember that we've now got to set. This is not really part of the EVH2O project directly. This was just something that Charles gave me as homework for the summer, I think, Charles, pretty much. And I mean, I did it and I enjoyed it, but really, yeah, the water coming out of that can go into the plant growth aspect.
Wonderful.
But actually, I've got a lot of other stuff that I've got in my head now. My wife thinks I'm completely insane. She's seen me staring at a cone mold, an ice cream, the ice cream cone mold out
Yeah.
of stainless steel, which
Right.
just happens to be the same shape as Tesla's tower, and I think would take a nice miniature vortex if I could just get it to go down there. And I'm looking at ways of getting things into quite compact. I want this thing to fit on a wheeled cart, like an ice cream cart that makes magic water, if I can do it. And I'm looking for how small I can get various things. Hence the question about the vortex.
Right, I understand. Yeah, I have a presentation to share from Alexander Shishkin. He found that the water coming out of his cavitator, they've done a scientific study on its uptake in a particular biological sense, and it's better uptake. The uptake is better for about 2 days. They did it after about a month, and it actually has a negative effect. So I think it's important that I share this because
I think I might have seen the paper that you refer to, and
Right.
I agree. It is very much a matter of timing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also about the level of energy that you spin the things up to, I think, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, this is something that I need to discuss with Bin, because there's a natural tendency to want to bottle this stuff and sell it, but actually people should be selling the shovels, not the product of the shovels. They should be selling the shovels, and it's kind of like that hydrogen water when you have those PEM modules and you make it and you drink it immediately. It's going to be one of those cases where people can't necessarily bottle it like Amarza was doing with Amarza gas water.
I think the really high-powered water will be exactly like that.
Yeah.
You were saying a while ago when you were talking about the effect of sun on water,
Yeah.
and water outside, that some that from the Indian work, that some of the water would actually retain its effectiveness for up to 3 months.
Yeah, that was no, that might have been with
It's a different setup, I know.
Yeah, I think that was with the bismuth salts with Baronoff, but I know there was this French guy a very long time ago, and he went to Mexico, and he had he learned the sort of alchemical method from the Aztecs or something, where they had these copper bowls and they put them out into the sun and they exposed it, and then they used the water that was exposed in the copper bowls to do their alchemical process. And he did this there, and it supposedly created the most pure gold or whatever that's ever been made in the alchemical process. But then when he tried to do it back in France, it didn't work. And I think it's probably due to the intensity of the sun or something.
I completely agree. I think what I'm looking at is a thing a bit like an ice cream cart that you put water in, and you get water out in a live stream.
Yeah.
And if you don't drink it, then it just goes to waste, and you put some more in. It's got to be that cheap and that available. And so you could push the thing up to an African village or a housing project in the States, and have a good supply of free, cheap water for people to drink that will be good for their, presumably very good for their health.
Yeah, I mean this is the thing about live and dead water. This is about those devices that you put, like Pavlos Mira's got for putting on the end of a tap. You're creating the structured water at the point of use, and that's where it's most relevant.
Absolutely right. Here. The other thing, of course, in my background is I used to use a lot of laser technology. And one of the things I used to use was a 532 green laser and a 1064 infrared laser, which I used to penetrate the skin to various depths. The green laser does about 1 to 2 millimeters, and the 1064 laser does about 1 centimeter. And I'm looking very much to see what I can transport on those laser beams for those depths in tissue. Because for me, this is an obsession. I've actually, as I say, in the other life, I've actually already done some tissue healing studies with some novel substances and got some results.
Wonderful.
But I would like to see, I want a bit of Star Trek before I snuff it. I want a bit of Star Trek.
Let's make sure that happens.
Laser beams that heal could be something, couldn't they? So let's think about that.
I think so. Wonderful.
Rocks into replicators.
Say again, Alex?
Star Trek. Oh, I'm sorry. Just made a Star Trek reference. Rocks into replicators.
Right. Yes.
Thank you,
Really?
Paul.
Yeah, thank you,
Pleasure.
Paul.
And
And
you
thank
hear
you
me?
for letting me be part of that.
Sorry?
Thank you for letting me be part of setting
Oh,
up the
Alec,
cavitating electrolyzer.
honestly, your contribution is essential. I've got to say that I would love someone else to take these rotating cylinders away and play with them, because I've got some other stuff that other fish I need to fry. So I'm actively looking for people who might enjoy doing it. I don't know whether Ken is interested in taking it away and testing it, or whether it may be a bit of a baby project for you. I don't know what you think. You were going to make a bigger one, I believe, weren't you?
Just a different one. Can you?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, this is not necessarily me saying this is the only way to do it. It's just what I did, and it's designed as a starting point.
Right, right. Yeah, if we still have some time, I have some comments and a few things to share as well.
I'm going to be on the Discord now for a while, and you know, if anything you want to talk about, please go ahead, because as I say, I'm ready now to sort of answer some questions. When you're actually building these things, it doesn't help to have 10 different people telling you to build it different ways, but I've built the damn thing now, and you can now criticize it, and next time we'll build it different. You know what I mean?
Now you'd wish you'd opened it up to discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, go for it. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
Paul.
All right.
Thank you, Paul, and very good work, by the way.
Thanks.
Excellent documentation, an excellent build. So part of the things that I'd like to talk about today revolve around the cavitator system, but also utilize the Arduino system. I'd like to share my screen if that's okay.
Green button.
Yeah, just I need to share this video about Arduino goes full anti-consumer. I don't know if you can see all that.
Hold on. Is it your video?
No, but I'm not going to play it.
Okay, good.
No, I'm not going to play it. It talks about Arduino being purchased by Qualcomm, and that anything that you build, any software that you develop and share using Arduino now becomes a property of Qualcomm. And it could go as far as usernames and basically any content or any information about anything you do with Arduino now becomes non-open source, whereas before it was open source. Let's see how I can do this. Let's just do this. My system that I've put together is based off of the patent of Norman Wooten. Norman Wooten was an investigator, researcher at the same time of Bedini and Doug Konzen, investigating the Muller motor and a few other technologies. His device, however, is a diffuser. It takes a one liquid and diffuses it into another liquid, and they become one. It uses cavitation principles, and I know that there were some questions about how exactly does the cavitation work, and so I'd like to just show some of these pictures here to describe the cavitation principles in the Norman Wooten device, which is what I've tried to base a lot of my work off of. This is a main rotor here that goes inside a sleeve or a container tube. These rotors have holes drilled in the outside periphery of the rotor, which are represented here. When they are spun at speed, they develop a cone of vortex. As these two meet and touch, the vortex cones or the vortex tornadoes. That is where well, ultraviolet, violet, blue ignition takes place. And that is basically the cavitation system. Now, let's
I'll
see,
note actually, Ken, that is the same output shape as the Russian expired Cavijet patent. So it's like a self-resonating output, and that produces a vortex soliton in the water. It actually produces a massive change in pressure as the jet of water comes through that, and that forms into a vortex soliton. And the Russian heat generation systems, which produce a COP of 1.49, which is actually verified at universities, which insert into your normal heating systems, they have two rarefaction pulses, which this will produce, colliding to make a vortex soliton. And that is the basis of the technology. So it looks like it's learned a lot from the Russian cavitation patents.
I think this was based a lot off of Griggs' system as well.
Yeah.
He does note that you can have different shapes of surface disturbances, and they will still produce the same cavitation vortexes. So you can have kind of dents or holes, or in this case even grooves, which go kind of at a diagonal angle. And you can even have just one dent in the rotor with none in the stator, and that's basically the system that I've decided to replicate from Norman Wooten. Now his description of the patent and a description of the process is pretty good. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Goes through quite a bit of the different variations and how they change and what they do for cavitation. I could go through, but I don't want to take that extra time. I do need to show some of the build that I've got here. Let's see. Maybe I didn't do that right. Oh, I did do it right. Okay. The build that I have is generally a 3-inch tube, 3.5-inch tube.
Can everyone see his camera feed?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to make it bigger for those on YouTube.
Okay. So it is direct driven by a DC motor that can spin up to 3,200 RPM, and the center rotor inside is made out of aluminum, and this one is just basically a prototype idea. It's not to the correct size. I don't have the funds to build the correct size, but this one is a see, I can keep my hands out of the light. This one is basically a clay covered aluminum rotor that's kind of built to the same specifications as the patent, as the Norman Wooten patent. So each one of those holes will develop a cavitation vortex. The rotor lines, let's see if I can figure out how to. I'm not too great at running the Zoom here and doing all of the camera work, but if there's a cavitation bubble that forms here, it will tend to roll and follow down the groove, and each cavitation bubble following it will continue to roll down these grooves, and it will self-pump and move this cavitation bubbles out of the rotor system and out into the circulating system.
Ken, that is
Anyway.
exactly what's going on in Binja Huang's reactor. He has a rifled tube. He creates the cavitation bubbles with preheating the water, which you might consider doing to 70 degrees. And what happens when you go to 70 degrees is when you go through a pressure drop through a venturi, which he's got on those rotors, and effectively you're going to get on yours, it actually forms a multi-phase system which produces cavitation bubbles, and then in his heat exchanger he has an internal tube that is rifled to produce the spiral, which we can see on the SEMs, that is where the structures are aggregating, but also it spins them up even more. As it's traveling down, it's shearing in two axes, and it energizes the initiated cavitation structures. So it's really great to see. So I can see your logic there. It's very good.
All right, it's not up to operation yet, but it's at least a demonstration of what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent pattern. Can you go up to the top so people can see what that is again?
Yeah, let me
scroll it up to the top. We're seeing your screen anyway, so just scroll the window up to the top.
No garbage. Hang on a second.
Or if you can, it's US patent 7806584, and it's Wooten, is it?
Yes, Norman Wooten.
Norman Wooten, and that's from 2010. So that's got a 5-year window to run on it. Just under 5 years left on that patent. So if people get up to speed with the learning that's in that patent, then in 5 years' time, it may be able to provide open systems that are, really capable.
Right. Okay. Let me try and figure out how to stop the share here, and you guys can take it away. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ken.
Okay. Bob, I need to ask you, did you release the artifact video?
No.
No. Artifact, would you like me to talk about this video or do this video, or would you like to discuss what you've been doing?
You can share it, of course.
Fantastic. Let me share my screen.
It was a quick video because I had no time.
Perfect. It's perfect. Tell me if you can hear him talking on the video.
Right together, I want to show you some updates of the data acquisition software. The design has changed in all tabs, and there are some new sensors, like optical sensor, which can be a webcam, and it can be configured to detect light spots, like scintillation events or EVO impacts. Then there's a particle counter, and so on. And there's a preview, and you can test. And we have a little help system. And then we have an audio sensor, which can be used to detect RMS level, peak amplitude, dominant frequency, and decibel level. And there's a remote button. With this function, you can send the sensor data and video data from one PC that is connected to the sensors to a different PC that is, for example, in a safe place and is just recording the data. So one software is configured as master that has the data, and one is configured as client to get the data. And now there's a calibration assistant. So you can do a linear correction, a polynomial correction, and offset and gain. I'm going to add 3 data points for a polynomial data correction. And now we calculate the calibration, and we see that we get a little curvature. And this correction is applied to the sensor, whatever we measure. Here we have a function to show a control run, so we can see data from a different run to compare the values. and just some design changes here. Okay, then there's a flow chart where you can see from where data is coming and how much and how often and where it's going and so on. So I started a run and you can see one event was captured. This is an automation event and it is placed in the incoming data. Action system alert plays out. And then we have some tools. Here we have a spectrum analyzer. I'm going to test it. I start a recording. Test. And you can see the frequency spectrum and the resulting waterfall diagram. Then there is a statistics page where you can start data monitoring and you see if the trends are stable and what is captured and how much and so on. And you can have a histogram. Then there's a diagnostics tab if something's not working to find out what is going on. And a calculator tab to calculate some data. Okay, and one of the more important things is that you can load an old run and you can go to the dashboard and load the data and you can go through it and the video is synced to the data.
Oh, yes, man.
The video playing and where the data is at this moment.
Wonderful.
Really cool.
Really cool.
Very good. Can it take radio frequency analyzer as in?
Audio is saved also.
He can answer at the end. It's a recording.
Okay.
That was a test run. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching and see you.
Well done, Artifact.
Nerd.
Awesome.
Fabulous.
This is amazing.
That took some time.
I'm not surprised, man. That is a huge amount of work.
It didn't work at all at the beginning with the synchronization, and I thought it was the video part, but it was just the above part with the data, the timing.
That is awesome. Great. So good. So good.
Artifact, you've brought tears of joy to my eyes. I feel like such a nerd right now. This is beautiful. It's amazing.
To do all that work with that skill and to make it open, full respect, man. I know you've been here since the beginning. It's you've been watching this space for 13 years as well. But I can see where you've pulled in so many things that we've done in the past the hard way, and you're making a tool that everyone can use to do it in a reliable way. And thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart.
Where can I get it, please, Artifact?
The old version is live on GitHub. The next version, 0.3, will be released like in the next weekends, at least at Christmas time. Then I have time and.
Fabulous.
Because I want to
look on GitHub in the new year. Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank
I want
you.
to get rid of some bugs, but yeah.
Well, can we have a link to GitHub?
Mats is a bit of a programmer himself.
Saved me a lot of work. But I'm going to do actual experiments this time.
Yeah, wonderful, Mats. Great to hear it.
Can I ask if this provides a real-time dashboard for a heads-up display on currently operating and running data? It does?
Hope so. I intend.
You gotta be kidding me. Like, no way. This is like
all
those data points.
The live open science that we did back on with the dog bone.
Yeah.
And Artifact just show about the same things we did back them.
Yeah, no. Artifact has been building that with that experience in mind, and all of the other things we've tried to do since. And he's trying to, and basically you can use, as far as I understand it, Artifact, you can use an Arduino, but you can also use a T7, Pro or T7 or standard devices off the shelf, and then plug his tool into that, and then all the standard Artifact. I know Mats wants to really kick off and do some experiments with something like this. Can you just give him a quick overview, because it's the first time he's experienced any interaction with the tool?
Yeah, you can have Arduino and LabJack, and nearly every sensor that is communicating by a serial interface, because it can be scripted to understand that. Yeah, and if necessary, some others, but yeah, and
yeah, I'm not ready to connect that yet, because I'm just in the startup of shopping things. First of all, different equipment for measurements, like radio frequencies, spectral analyzer, oscilloscope, and things like that, which is stream with data streams. So that is a setup of itself. But then the experiment itself also need some shopping list, and like glass tubes and some hydrogen atmosphere. It's the Edgely energy amplifier I want to try to replicate, and also have ideas of how to make that using PN junctions in MOSFETs instead of the classic spark. But in the first iteration, it's about replicating and see if we can.
Well, I can talk to a bit about that, Mats. Essentially, this week's been very interesting because Andrea Rossi has just been awarded another patent. That, for me, isn't the most interesting part about it. The fact is that he's got effectively a spark gap in there with a 2 Tesla magnet wrapped around it. Now, 2 Tesla magnets are capable to be purchased off the shelf. There's very, very special orders. But he's saying that this leads to a promotion of coherence alongside basically kind of piezoelectric type, barium titanate or strontium titanate, those kind of ceramics. And the combination of the two is leading to what he calls coherent electron clusters, without calling them EVOs, but we know he's been down that route. So that is
many names for the same thing.
Well, yeah, but the point is that we're talking about EVO Labs.IO here, and you have a patent that's been awarded supposedly for a technology that the key aspect of it is creating coherent electron clusters. And we know the provenance of that. Then secondly, Engate has just had another device verified by Jean-Paul Barbarian, where it self-sustains. And that is very, very interesting. The self-sustaining is not for that long, but is it cooling down or is it self-sustaining? That's the question. Or is it burning something? Who knows? But that's an interesting data point there, because that is also based on plasmoids, which is akin to exotic vacuum objects and so forth. And then regarding to what you specifically said about Eagly's energy amplifier, it's something that was developed out of his ideas and my conversations with him a number of years ago. That's also been verified by Jean-Paul Barbarian, but it's also been verified by another person I trust very greatly. And the thing about that device is the verification that I witnessed, the equipment that was doing the verification, it was based on calibration, one, and essentially what they were doing was it's got two resistor banks, And yes, the resistors aren't perfectly arranged around the thermocouple and or the alcohol thermometer, but he does calibrations on it using a known amount of power going through, and you see that the resistor banks, either with the thermocouple or the alcohol thermometers, they produce certain output. Then he runs it in the spark gap mode, and it produces, as far as I understand it from calibration, an excess of 4. So that's direct electricity production, but in this case it's resistively heating a resistive load. It's not actually fed back
I want
into.
to do that by measure energy volt ampere over time.
So see, this is where the discussion between I can hear George Hathaway complaining right now because people can't measure their input power against their output power. This is where having a resistive load deals with all of those issues. Like if it's actually producing thermal energy from a resistive process, and you've got 4 times more heat than if you just pass power through without the pulse mode, because it's basically one circuit. And what you do is you join the 2 contacts together, so it's electrically conducting, and you pass your pulses through, and without the spark you get a COP of 1 on the calibration. Effectively, you know that as you ramp up the power, this is your curve, and you're putting this many joules in DC, or this many joules in AC pulses or DC pulses, and you're getting this much heat rise in the thermocouple and or the alcohol thermometer, which you physically see. You can see the temperature, and then you move it across, open it up, so that then the pulses going through are now producing plasmoids, exotic vacuum objects, and it's doing the work. And you see that you get a thermal output that's 4 times higher based on the calibration. And so you don't have to worry about whether you're measuring all the 50th harmonic of the electrical signal that's going in, because you're just measuring the thermal output. Now, obviously, it would be great to be able to capture that energy, but then you have to have a much more complicated system to capture all the transients and get whatever else is going on in there, to create some sort of a closed feedback loop. So the problem with that system, and the problem with the Engate system, is that the electrodes and or the apparatus get destroyed. And if Dr. George Eagley was allowed to present at Marioka, he would have presented a paper where he discussed the fact that it synthesizes elements on the electrodes. And I told him this when I suggested aluminium. I said, look, you're just going to get elements formed, and they're going to stuff the electrodes up, and after a while they're not going to work as they once did. And that's in fact what happens. But it's a good demonstrator in terms of it's not so much engineering to get a device to do it. I probably will have to reach out to him and see if he's willing to share a little bit more detail on the schematics rather than that which is in the public domain.
I can show you my ideas around this. If you have a few minutes, if you are interested. I have a picture.
Okay, go on. Yeah, share it.
Let's see.
Whilst you're doing that, I'll just say that I'm collaborating with Jan Rack and Henk Uren. The aim is to do focused Vega replications. They've got a fantastic system in Prague, and we're going to look to do systematic studies and do stepwise paper production. And the fact that Jan Rack has worked at Sandia National Labs and at CERN and is a professor, it probably means there's at least a reasonable chance that scientific journals will at least allow the paper to enter across their desk rather than coming from someone.
Jan Rack is amazing.
Yeah.
Jan Rack is amazing.
Yeah, he is, yes.
Can
okay,
you
so show us what you got there.
Can you see a mouse pointer down here?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Swedish. And this is just a conceptual thing because I don't have all the details yet, but this is the additional spark tube that should have a an atmosphere of hydrogen. It says that it could be run with propane or some other.
Can I just say that the test that I saw that was producing a 4+, it did not have any special atmosphere. It was just using moisture from the air. In fact, the cell was actually open to the atmosphere.
Okay. But this part, I'm interested in doing the same as Egeli. We'll have more data on exactly how this was done. The other part here is electronics for harvesting the magnetic field that is produced supposedly by EVOs that are forming here, doing ions in the hydrogen atmosphere, and that should then have a fluctuating electromagnetic field that being harvested. And by having two batteries, one for driving these sparks and another for harvesting it, there's two. It should be very easy to see if this is a perpetual system, because you would run out of this battery, but this will at the same time gain energy, and you could switch those. So it would be a system that you drive with one battery and loads the other. So it's not measuring temperature. It just sees that you can drive and charge all the time.
Yeah, you're going to use something like a Schottky diodes or something very fast switching so that you can...
Yes. So my first goal is to replicate and see if I have some over unity here. But I am aware of that this will not run for very long because of the dusty plasma and problems with the cathode. This. But this is actually some kind of PN junction that we have in MOSFETs, which is the Schottky diode.
Right.
And if there are, first of all, we need to run this in a hydrogen atmosphere. And also, the chip is shielded by the plastics around it. So the idea here is to take away the plastics and make the chip naked, still having it runnable. Then the hydrogen would be very, very close to the point where we have the avalanche spark inside this MOSFET. And that maybe could be a more sustainable system. It's still a cathode and anode, but it's a semiconductor.
I'm very interested to see if it works, but I'm very conscious of the fact that EVOs destroy semiconductors.
Yeah. I want to see an EVO to start with. That would be make me very, very happy.
Yeah.
I want to see it for myself. So it's already here. We can maybe.
Well, Tone did say, can we make these things bigger in his presentation? And the point is that if you go back to the original 1992 patent of Ken Shoulders, the fundamental size is around about 1 micron. And we see this across very many different systems. And they are the main actor. But then they can cluster into structures that are larger and cell similar. But it seems that a functional structure, and I've given an explanation potentially for this, that you need to create a structure that is able to create a quark-gluon plasma core, and to create a self-sustaining core, that needs to be the internal core of that leads to a non-radiating boundary that's approximately about 1 micron. Any smaller and just cannot self-sustain. So I think that is the reason why he was creating those systems of that particular scale, a lithographic scale, for guiding those structures. So whatever you do, if you want to see them, you're more likely to see them with a pinhole microscope type objective like Ken Shoulders used to get to see them, or you need to look at what they leave behind. So if your tube there is, for instance, a fused quartz tube, then you need to have microscopy and lighting suitable to look at that tube when you run don't run too many, run not many cycles, and then put it under the microscope, and you should see the tracks or the impact marks around on the glass.
Yeah, I want to see electricity.
Okay.
That is scalable if it is producing or amplifying electricity this way.
Also about the seeing EVs comment, the EVOs. Even if you're using a pinhole camera, the way it sounds now, you'll be seeing them racing across the screen at 10% the speed of light. That's one of the big open questions. Is it possible to get these things to stand still? Yeah, hoping to find an answer to that, but that would be really cool to observe one moving slowly.
Yeah. Well,
what are you using
EVOs,
for electrodes there? What do you propose to use for electrode materials?
For me or for Matt?
Sorry, for Matt.
Okay, I'll back out.
Okay. What do you propose, Matt?
Well, I want to replicate Egelis energy amplifier as much as possible. I got some good stuff from one of the members here. Lots of data, I think, that I can use.
Well, he uses 2 aluminium cylindrical sections that come close together, and it's about getting that spark gap correct, so that you get it into the right mode. But I mean, you've drawn one.
This drawing is not showing to alumina.
No, not alumina. Aluminium.
A rod, but so it's conceptual drawing. It's not exactly.
Okay, but the thing is, it's not a bad drawing based on this interpretation. If you had a tungsten electrode on the left-hand side and a carbon target on the right, that would be pretty good. And I'll give you the reason why. In 2018, I managed to share some things with Anatoly Klimov, because I said it seems like boron and indium and these kind of materials that interact with neutrons, they seem to be producing excess heat, and I could literally see him start to sweat and the sweat come down his brow like this, and it was weird. You could see this fear in his face, and he came to me the following day, and we sat down, and he says, yeah, basically I only get a COP of up to 2 if I just use normal electrodes, but if I use a material that interacts with neutrons, and he used things like gadolinium, cadmium, indium, boron, or lithium. Of course, lithium's got issues that kind of impacts. He gets his COP of around about 10, and it took me 2 years of noodling him to get him to actually publicly share that in a way that then I could publicly share. But this is where if you the thing about aluminium is they're both paramagnetic. The structures have a magnetic aspect to them, so they can bind to it and do the fusion. Tungsten is a great, because of its low work function, material. And its high temperature, but carbon, of course, is a neutron moderator. It's used in the RBMK reactors. That is what was in Chernobyl, for instance. And so actually having a carbon counter electrode is possibly a choice that you could do. This is not something, by the way, which I've discussed with George Eagley. So these are avenues where you might be able to exceed the COP that has been observed in the Eagley Energy Amplifier, and I want to see these devices developed into practical energy generators. And the beauty about carbon is cheap, and what you'll find is that in the most recent and basically Engate's reactor that was verified recently is an iteration of Klimov's earlier work. What Klimov did at the Ball Lightning conference last year and reiterated in more detail is he showed that they found that carbon was actually just as effective as special metals in his vortex plasma reactors. And he cunningly showed that he could make a CC laser in one of his vortex reactors. That is, it was like a green laser, and it was self-supporting in the plasma vortex channel. That's in itself amazing, that you could produce a coherent light with carbon-carbon, triple carbon bond. And the second thing is that this video which he shared, where he says, we found that carbon nanoparticles can do this effect, it had a video date on it, and it was from 2001. So he's known about this for 24 years.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm still just starting to buying things to do this. So we'll see what's happening. What will happen.
Great. Thank you very much, Mats. And hopefully you can use the tool that Artifact has produced. I don't know if anyone else has got anything to say, but I know I had a meeting with Ian McCalland before we started this. He's running a group which he's putting together of people that are replicating the thunderstorm generator. I don't know if he wants to step in and say some things about that.
Sure, Bob. No problem. Thanks.
Is that okay, Charles? Okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks for coming to our meeting today. I've started a group of, we call it Plasmoid People's Communication Initiative. And so it's a global group. We're holding meetings every week in Europe and North America. We're getting some people from Australia coming in and the rest of the world. It's all the independent Vajra owners that are sort of really interested in this product and have purchased them and are installing them. So we've got a couple of guys on there that are providing technical assistance for new builders. We're trying to formalize and consolidate the builds and to sort of try to keep them all the same. We're trying to teach some concepts on research and doing baseline testing and testing. We're looking for a way to run a multi-centered controlled trial with all these Vajras running across the planet, just as proof of concept. The presentation today on Artifact just blew me away, because I've been asking to find a device that provides a dashboard real time with big data dump inputs. So that's amazing. We're looking at building a collaboration space for independent owners that will essentially, in terms of the Vajra system, will become sort of ambassadors for that system and help the core group carry that out into the world. And then if we get a group of ambassadors together, we could start it like a schoolhouse. So an online schoolhouse. So now we're starting to teach it. We can teach the children, whoever. Other people can come in and teach through that. This is the ideas and plans we have. We're only a couple of months into this process. I'm amazed at how far this group has gotten, Bob, since the last time I was here.
It would be great, Ian, if you could use Artifact's tool and give it its real hard testing out in the field, because it has the potential to take on board almost anyone else's equipment, but produce a data set that everyone can tie into and compare on a common basis. And as part of that education with the various researchers, they're not going to have to buy a data acquisition tool. They might have to buy some sensors, but some of them, as I saw, have already got sensors, or they're getting sensors, and everyone's got a webcam that can be tied in, and to have a sensor data stream tied to a webcam. And it's not just the webcam looking at the device, it's the webcam looking at what the user is doing to the device at the time. There's all kinds of things that you don't necessarily know you did, which changed something, which can be captured with this kind of large data set, synchronized data set. So I really encourage you to use what the fantastic work that Artifact has done, and in your group.
Great, thanks, Bob.
And if I may,
go on.
Thank you, Bob. I just wanted to add one last thing, and I just wanted to extend a big thanks to the entire fuel reformer community. As I know some of us are aware, there has been various types of inventions to work with fuel reforming. And I, again, want to extend a big thanks to the Geet Institute that I think really pioneered a lot of that work, the Thrival Tech company that incorporated many of Schauberger's designs, and the Thunderstorm generator, which has clearly taken things even farther. But together, I've seen the communities behind all three of these groups come together, and I want to thank everybody who's doing that. There are so many replicators who are looking past any sort of labels or boundaries and just focusing on what works. And again, I just really want to thank everybody who is collaborating to do that. And yeah.
Alex, that's a great sentiment. I think what Paul Pantone did was exceptional. I'm most interested in the extreme and unusual effects that he observed. But having spoken to some and tried to replicate it myself, and I know David Pantone was in the chat earlier. I don't know whether if he is now. But what I've seen in the builds that I've seen is that the claimed effects from the Thunderstorm generator are relatively easy to achieve by any person. Now, for me, the big win is cleaning up air in places that can't clean it up because systems like catalytic converters and how should we put this? Pig's piss injectors. They're not possible. They're not possible for places to put onto their engines, and we've got like, I don't know, 1 billion internal combustion engines around the world. So I think that the work and what I was trying to encourage Ian's group to consider is to find out what is the most critical part of the overall system and get it down to its essential core so that the devices are as cheap and easy to install and retrofit onto engines around the world, so that it can make a difference. And one of the speakers, and maybe you'd like to just talk about the young chap that's doing his master's thesis on one of these devices. He did some initial fuel efficiency tests, didn't he? Ian, do you want to talk about that just briefly?
Yeah, so a gentleman showed up in our meeting this week, and he's doing his master's thesis in Florida at an aeronautical university. And so he just picked up on the Thunderstorm generator and ended up building his own and applying for this project and getting support from his professor. So he's getting really excellent results. And he's doing a really excellent research. He's, it's the research process that's really most important in setting up what you're going to do and having all your controls in place. And he's very organized, and he has a system to grab that data and present it out. He's got a junior now. He announced today he's got a junior that may be interested in following this up. So when we start to get this stuff inside universities and the students start hooking on, we're going to see a big wave, which is why the schoolhouse is important. The other thing with regard to Artifact is that the taking the Vajra and putting it into a system that has load and sensors and systems to manage. Think about big power plants, big ships, airplanes, turbines, database power centers. In order to move this product into those spaces, we have to have sensor mapping and integration with those systems. So something like Artifact now becomes a heads-up display, for that system in major power plants.
Well,
Major
actually, Artifact, do you want to just talk about the fact that your system is not just data acquisition; it can actually do control? Can you just talk to that a little bit, Artifact?
There's an automation tab where you can like define things, like if one sensor reaches a special value or something, whatever, it can
Also here.
send data back to Arduino or Labjack, for example, and then you can automate all kind of things with it.
Thank you, Artifact. So you see, yeah, it's not just a one-way process, Ian.
Right.
There's something else which came up recently, which is that I've just had a tentative interaction with LandLogical, which is the UK licensee for the thunderstorm generator. And the reason for that is that it occurs to me that in the UK, we don't have a whole load of millions and millions of generators all generating household power. What we do have is chimneys and gas turbines and big stuff. And the problem with all of those things is they don't automatically have a reciprocating setup that creates plasmoids by cavitation just as part of the deal. You actually need to create your plasmoids quite separately and inject them into the system at some point. And therefore, we've got some synergy between what the EVH2O project is doing, which is treating water to produce plasmoids in bulk.
Yes.
Yeah,
with people
we
who
actually
want to inject them into chimneys and other things.
Yeah, Paul, we had a conversation along that lines with the group this evening, and whether the specific way that the so-called plasmoids are generated are actually in there, or it's because of the interaction of the moisture interacting with the thunderstorm generator itself. And these things, that's part of reducing it down to its essential, so that it can maximize its capability for change.
Yeah, and I'll just add that those misting and resonator systems could be a system that could replace that and be used on chimneys.
I know Malcolm with the 400 kVA units in East London. They couldn't modify. This was the argument I was told. The particular devices. So he actually had a diesel blower forcing air into the device on a truck next to it. So that's the kind of system that you would need if you were going to be installing this on a smokestack.
Absolutely right. And I think how you do that is going to be quite central. So there may be some synergy there which we can work on. And of course, LandLogical wouldn't necessarily be an open source client, but it might be a source of profit for running the rest of the organization, for example, if it could be arranged, which is what occurred to me. We'll wait and see. It's early days.
And just a quick on the fuel, changing the fuel. One of our guys has been trying to take like atomized, instead of putting liquid fuel in, is to take, like if you have a vibration in a tank and you create the vapor, is feeding that into the Vajra, because personally I think there's way too much fuel, but we don't need that much fuel going in there anyway. With that complex setting up.
And the other Geek was doing some of that itself.
One more question for Artifact. I view the thunderstorm generator as having this magneto-hydrodynamic complex, and trying to find a way to sensor map it that is not in the standard model with something like a frequency, like a nanophone, something that could pick up a frequency that could be plugged into the plasmoid unification chart and would come out with a geometric structure. And so Sheena, if you know her, has a program where she dumped the plasmoid unification table numbers into this program, and she can display geometric structures related to specific elements in the periodic table. So I kind of see that like the perfect pattern. And if we have a dashboard that reads and senses and presents the current pattern, now we have something to tune to that's more magneto-hydrodynamic and geometric. I'm trying to figure out a way to
Yeah, I think the point about those
those
frequencies, they're non-destructive. They help create a standing wave structure that is harmonic, and that is what you do want to create, because you want to create standing wave structures. If you've got non-standing wave structures, that is to say frequencies that are phase shifting over each other, you don't get the standing waves in order to produce the yin-yang structures that lead to the formation of the plasmoids inside the Vajra. It's quite good in the fact that it's a sphere. There will be redundancies and so on going there. But yeah, you could actually, my brother in the 1990s, I told this to Sheena, he used a piezo speaker and fired a laser at it and did the same kind of patterns. You can make a device quite simply by mixing frequencies onto a piezo, it's already a speaker, and just pointing a laser, and you can project it up onto a wall. It's quite a cheap way of creating the same kind of visual effects. And essentially what you could do is you could have a microphone listening to the Vajra, right? And I would say suggest getting a 192 kilohertz microphone, and you feed that through to a system that can output digital to analog back to 192 kilohertz, and fire a laser at, and you'll be able to see what it's doing, producing standing waves in its resonant patterns. So something along those lines, a little simple device. Cool. Is that all you wanted to say, Ian?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, I think I before I go and wrap up here, if anyone wants to ask questions on YouTube, there's still 94 people out there. Thank you. Actually, we had the most people we've ever had on YouTube watching one of our bounced Zoom calls, so that's fantastic. Got a really good quorum here in the room. Fantastic things being talked about. I want to say thanks to James and Pavel. It's really good to hear that there is such a professional outfit working with such a keen advocate for the Windhex to build on the work that Tony had done. And I'm very glad to see that Tony will be back in play with that. So that collaboration, I'm really excited to see what will come out of James and Pavel's work in the new year. I have to say thank you to Brian. It's just an incredible tool that he's built off the back of the work of Alexander Parkhomov and Philip Power. Really, thank you so much for building the Lena Academy reaction calculator. For me, it was the use of those tables, my own understanding of the space, and the work that Phil did with me in fuzzfizz.com and also in nanosoft.co.nz. It was that allowed me to predict that the hydrogen and oxygen would form 17 oxygen, and two 17 oxygens would end up by producing carbon, 12 carbon, and neon, which was verified in the Binger and Huang paper that we published on January the 2nd, 2024, and was effectively the first heat production and element synthesis paper published in a major peer-reviewed journal. And this new version that Brian has built at Lena.Academy is a fantastic tool that I hope many more people will be able to use to predict outcomes from their element interactions in coherent energy transformation systems. Thanks again to Alex and all his efforts to collaborate and bring people together. It's such a wonderful thing to see your enthusiasm and in making those connections. And Tone, we couldn't really have a project that's called EVO Labs DAO if it wasn't for someone getting out there and looking at the papers and patents and trying to build relationships with the people that work with Ken Shoulders, so that we have a deep insight into that man's mind. I know from working with Matsumoto that what you think you know about someone is very different the more you spend with their material. And having a system in the chat forum where people can inquire into a virtual and improving virtual Ken Shoulders in the future will help people who are new to the field and haven't been through 1 million hours of videos or 100 hours of experiments to get up to speed with his thinking, so that they're not starting from the ground all the time, from the ground level. We can literally build on the shoulders of shoulders. So that's really fantastic, the work you're doing there, Tone. I'd like to say thank you, Paul, for your efforts with building your device, and it's nice to see that taking fruition. And with other people, with Ken, great patent that we saw shared today, really interesting. There's another patent that's going to be up for grabs in 5 years' time to the open community, and someone actually getting a heads up start to look on how that can be built out. So thanks, Ken Pratt. Artifact, full respect, mate. You're a good friend, and it's incredible to see what you're doing for the community. And I think with Ian's group essentially deploying that, I think we'll have our first real mass application of the tool. And so thank you very much. And again, Ian, thanks for joining us today and giving your experience. The last thanks I have to give is to Charles. Now, Charles mentioned his unfortunate or misfortune in recent days, or recent weeks rather, and the fact that he has pulled from his pocket $60,000 of his own resources, which for many of you out there, and I know it for myself, if you're having to pay something $60,000 after tax and after living expenses, that's a huge amount. That's sometimes 4, 5, 6 years per people's disposable income. I'm thankful that he spent it on this project rather than having it in the same investments, because and this is the incredible thing. But that money is now in a real thing that is going to make a real difference, rather than sitting as some zero-sum game that where you ended up with a zero sum. So you know but full respect, that was a big commitment on you. But I want to just iterate, it's not just about the $60,000 in cash, Charles. You're a good friend, and you've dedicated 2 years of your life to get up to speed with this, and then to manage people. If I was to employ you, I would expect to employ you at least to the tune of $100,000 to actually manage this process.
That's very kind of you to say, Bob.
I would suggest you personally have put, given the fact that you put 60,000 after tax, you put about somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 into developing this platform. And full respect, mate. Full respect.
Yep, absolutely fine. Thank you. Thank you. And just to address some FUD that's going on YouTube, I don't want any of it back. It's a donation to the project. I'm never going to be seeking it back at all. Any capital that does go into the project and in the treasury will only be given to people after a community vote. And anybody who's a detractor who doesn't agree with what we're doing, we built a peer review system so that you can jump in and tell us why we're wrong. And then we can all disagree with each other together. And that's how the peer review process works, and that's how we've built it. So, yeah, if anyone disagrees with what we're doing, please come and tell us why.
Wonderful. Wonderful, mate. I think that is an awesome way to end. You're going to have an opportunity, the detractors, to take part in the experiments or sit on the sideline and jeer. But if you think you know better, if you think you're an expert, I'm just going to see if there's any questions. Did you spot any questions in YouTube?
No, but I'm just going to share my screen for one moment. Okay. Right at the end. This is the Discord screen. So this, I'd like to take a barcode scanner, scan the QR code. That takes you to Discord. Otherwise, you just type in the URL there, and that'll take you to our Discord. So if you'd like to join us and on this journey, please jump in, please join us there, or go to Bob's RemoteView.ICU if you'd like to talk to Bob. But yeah, I just thought I'd put that up just right at the end there. So thank you, Bob.
All right, thanks, guys. I guess one day we'll make it official, but it's been serving a wonderful purpose out there to connect people offline and online, offline, when we're not able to meet like this. I really feel that you guys are doing fantastic work. You're building a real community here with a sense of trying to make the world a better place. And, you know, we're not going to get it right all the time. We've done lots of experiments that have been dead ends. We've researched, we've been visiting people. You know, I remember back in 2017 when we spent 2 Bitcoin to visit someone. Of course, it was only worth $1,000 then. But if it wasn't for doing that research, we wouldn't be where we are today, because that 2017 was a seminal year for the project. But what I can see moving forward is you guys, you're gonna take this learning and expand it. And if we keep it open and we keep it in a state which it can be reviewed, and Charles has done so much to make that possible for real people who really care to peer review this in a way that's open and respectful, then I think we're going to really change humanity together. So thank you. I'll hand it over to Charles for the last word.
Bob, you've pretty much covered all my thank yous to the people who aren't in here today. So we've got Martin, Mark, Nestor, Chris, Toons in here. These are the people that help every single day. So every single day, these guys turn up and we deal with the development. They're doing it all for free and have been doing it all for free for a year. So we've had a little team working on this constantly. So thank you to them. Thank you everyone who gives their comments. Thank you to everybody who just helps us get on with this, because we think this is going to be a massive thing in the future. And I think we're going to learn an awful lot. So thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for all your help. And looking forward to turning this into an amazing thing.
Thanks, guys. And thanks for tuning in on YouTube. We'll see you in the next meeting.
Speak to you in a bit, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.